Rook takes f6, and now bishop takes d1. Two pieces are hanging, the rook on f6 and the bishop on e2. Xiong now plays rook g6, but he misses the brilliant rook takes h6. But can you blame him? What a tactic coming up. Welcome to the exciting tiebreak between Jeffery Xiong and Jan Duda. The first 5+3 game was drawn. Jeffery Xiong now has the white pieces against Jan Duda. Let's see what happened in this game. e4, knight f6, the first surprise, Alekhine defense. e5, knight d5, c4, knight b6, d4, d6. White already has the center, and Xiong goes for the most aggressive setup with f4. The 4 pawns attack against the Alekhine. Bishop f5, knight c3, e6, knight f3, bishop e7, bishop e3, castle, bishop e2. Duda now takes the e5 pawn, and after f takes e5, knight c6. Imagine this position. If the c pawn was on f2, this opening would be a queen's gambit accepted. Castle, and now f6. Black must break up the center. After e takes f6, bishop takes f6. There is central pressure from black, but the b6 knight is not in the game. The c4 pawn is restricting the b6 knight. b3, defending your strong center and planning to move the rook. Perhaps the c1 to d1 or to e1 once the queen gets out the way. Queen e7, queen e1, white chooses to sidestep and head to the king side to create an attack. Rook d8, rook d1. The position is balanced. Here Duda makes a blunder with bishop g4. The bishop on f5 was so useful because it controlled e4. A better move in this position would have been h6. If queen g3, planning bishop takes h6, you can go king h8, and after knight b5, putting pressure on c7 if you defend knight e5. And white continues the game with central pressure. Bishop g4 is losing control of the position. Knight e4 getting the bishop pair and dark square control. h6 stopping bishop g5. Queen g3 and bishop f5. Duda admits his mistake. He puts the bishop back on the square it belongs. Knight takes f6 check, rook takes f6, and now knight h4. Hitting the bishop, planning to come into g6. What else was possible? Knight e5. Applying central pressure. If knight takes e5 take, moving the rook, we can swap a pair of rooks off and then go queen f4. And white has a nice position here. The knight on b6 is still useless. The rook can go to d1, g4 ideas later. The bishop on f5 looks like a target, and the rook is also a bit misplaced. Back to the game. Knight h4 played. Bishop c2. Rook takes f6, and now bishop takes d1. Two pieces are hanging, the rook on f6 and the bishop on e2. Xiong now plays rook g6, but he misses the brilliant rook takes h6. But can you blame him? What a tactic coming up. Let's check it out. Rook takes h6. You may reject this straight away because the bishop on e2 is hanging. Can you see the chance for a knight fork? No wonder white missed it. Where can you place the rook to create a knight fork opportunity? And the winning move is rook h8 check. If you go king f7, it is checkmate in one move. Just bring the white queen into the position. Queen g6 is mate. After rook h8 check, if you take, knight fork, take, and queen takes c7, white is completely winning. If black tries to threaten checkmate in one move, you can play h4, and white is winning. White has better coordination. The queen side will fall. The bishop can come into the attack to f4 to e5. Back to the game, rook g6 played. Knight takes d4. Black grabs the central pawn, and white moves the bishop with bishop d3. Not a good idea to take on d4 because after rook takes d4, white is missing a key attacker. That's why Xiong chose to keep the bishop on e3. Played bishop d3, knight e2 check to get rid of this bishop, forcing the capture, take, and now bishop takes h6. Even if it looks like white is crashing through, the position is actually balanced. Here, black played a blunder beginning with rook d1 check. But can you blame him? No. Very difficult to see this idea. Queen c5 check is a way to get out. If you play bishop e3, rook d1 check, king f2, and it looks like black might be in some trouble. The queen on c5 and the bishop on e2 are hanging. but black has a brilliant backward move beginning with queen f8 check. This is so difficult to see. Knight f3 is forced. The great thing here is the queen on f8 is defending g7. What happens if you play king takes e2? This is the brilliant idea, backward moves, so difficult to see, and now queen f1, checkmate in 1. After queen f8 check, you have to block with knight f3. g7 is defended. Now you have the time to move the bishop. Bishop d3. Hitting the rook and also threatening rook f1 mate. If you play bishop takes b6, because you give your king room, bishop takes g6, and let's see this fourth sequence after queen takes g6, take, queen takes e6 check, and black miraculously gets out with a perpetual after queen f7, queen c8 check, queen f8, and then we can get a perpetual. Back to the game, rook d1 check was played, king f2, queen f8 check. Black saw the idea with queen f8 check, but there's a key difference between this and the real game. The bishop is on e3. It is key this bishop is not there because white has the chance to escape, and also this bishop is in the attack. Knight f3 played. Same problem as in the variation. If you play king takes e2, queen f1 check, it's not mate as in the previous line, but after king e3, rook d3 check will pick up the white queen. Queen f8 check, knight f3 played. The white king has the chance to escape. If you played bishop d3, compared to the variation, this is just losing, because rook takes g7 check is possible. Recall the bishop is on e3, and white is just crashing through. If king h8, you can pick up the queen if you want, rook h7 check, and with bishop f8. However, in the game, knight f3 played, black has to defend g7. Rook d7, king takes e2, a piece up with the attack, and the knight on b6 still has not done anything. King h7. A few seconds left for both players on the clock, and Jeffery Xiong finishes the game in style. You could play the normal move, bishop e3, and just say you're a piece up with the attack. However, white finishes off in style with knight g5 check, king h8. If you take the rook, then knight takes e6 check, will just pick up the queen. After knight g5 check, king h8, knight e6, and there are 4 pieces attacking g7. Queen f5, bishop takes g7 check, the king moves, bishop d4, discovered check, bishop d4 check, king f7, and after rook f6 check. Black resigned. Xiong is through to the quarterfinals, knocking out Duda. Check out one of my videos over here, and check out another video over here. Be sure to hit that bell to get notified each time I release a new video, and subscribe to the channel.